as boys aloft, and that's not out of disrespect. The youngest pilots in the Royal Flying Corps were only 16. Now, a lot of this came down to tactics. What, in fact, was the best tactic to use? Was it send them as instruments, just to get a bead on them? Or was it better to sneak up behind, to get in hard, hit hard, and fast, without them ever knowing you were there, to literally shoot them in the back, for supremacy? It wasn't the enemy that was the main risk here. 60% of pilots would be killed in training, with a lack of any training program to really get them flying.
And there it is, down on Cosford's runway. Thanks so much to Ellie Sallingboe, the operator. And now from the right, here come the fighters. found in keeping with the historic machine. A game changer, really, wasn't it? In terms of its performance and its legs. It's certainly right up there as one of the best excellence in the Royal Air Force. I won't bore anybody with a lecture on aerodynamics, that's for another day. But the laminar flow wing very large and very heavy for German bombers, and they'd still get home a little bit leaky, but they would get home. The .5 on these was a totally different story. I believe it's 8 on the the two-seat Rafale B not only as a conversion trainer, but also as a two-seat combat aircraft with a weapon systems operator, much as used. On operations over Afghanistan. It really earned its spurs over Libya in 2011. Involved strikes from their base at Saint-Dizier in metropolitan France. Now, the speed leading off, and the fly-by-wire control coming into play. Achieved significant export success. Egypt, Qatar, India, Greece, Croatia, the UAE, and Indonesia and Serbia. Final pass from Captain Alexander.
No, it's exceptional.
Chipmunk first flew at the de Havilland Canada factory airfield down to in Toronto on the 22nd of May 1946. It came into service with the Royal Canadian Air Force a couple of years later, and with the RAF in 1950, starting with the Oxford University Air Squadron. They went on to be flown by many university air squadrons, many elementary flying training schools, later the air experience flights, giving air experience flights for air cadets. Squadron in Cyprus, countering the Greek separatist movement Yoka in the late 1950s, and they flew visual reconnaissances with army observers in the back seat. They flew convoy escort missions, mail drops, and other tasks, and in that, the tremendous agility of the Chipmunk was really important because they were flying over the Triglav mountain ranges or low side valleys, and so being able to turn tight and intended to get away from enemy attention was a real boost. I mean, that is just a lovely piece of flying. I think that deserves your appreciation.
Here they come, the 2026 Royal Air Force Aerobatic Team, the Red Arrows. As the team heads skywards, you'll see them change formation into 7 Arrows. Reaching the top of the loop on this beautiful day, they're approximately a mile high, nearly 6,000 feet. Slowing to 120 miles an hour, they'll get their first first chance to look back at all of us watching.
Go, Toff, go.
Leading the formation as it twists to the right is Wing Commander John Bond. Referred to by the pilots as Boss, Bondy's in his final year leading the team, and when he leaves will have completed an incredible 8 display seasons flying in various positions within the team. They do this by listening to the commands from the team leader. Now with a splash of colour, this is Blackbird. Split in front of us, Reds 1, 2 and 3 are out to our left, Reds 4, 5, 6 and 7 are out to the right. Features on the ground and matched flying mechanics. Tight barrel rolls around the smoke from Reds 1 and 2. The constantly changing vector from Red 1 makes this difficult to orientate.
greenhouse that wrap around, and in fact it's actually wider than the aircraft is, so the two crew could actually look down by looking out the side. They could actually have downward vision. Fly past, banking, 9 degrees one way, 9 degrees. Forestry for fire spotting. Here you see the very steep approach from the vulnerability to ground fire. The idea being that instead of a nice 3-degree slope down to land, you basically get above the airfield, dive straight down onto the runway and stop. Training performance whereas this aircraft very much in its training colours yet. This is of course the Jet Provost. This one is a Jet Provost Mark V. I think the seating on this aircraft is side by side, kind of like as you are in your car, as opposed to what we call tandem, one behind the other. And anyone who is shake the wings and add a little aerodynamic things to just really nice presentation of the Jet Provost P5 from Viper Classic Aircraft by Ian Brett. Rollout here, which will complete a wing over. Combine pitching and rolling manoeuvre, you can turn the aircraft through 180 degrees. You'll notice throughout the display that every single wing over is slightly different, with carefully selected flight path indicating varying wind conditions and energy stations. As he exits the wing over, he will enter slow roll. Throughout the slow roll, Rich will skillfully coordinate elevator, rudder and leader on input to keep the lift vector
pointing upwards, letting him step towards the ground. Cameras at the ready once again focused. With another dual tap. In his spare time, Richard the military ski instructor and the mountain leader. As he pulls out of the turn, Richard will run back towards bow centre. Another variation of horse, course of close up to the loop. Before rolling away from you. Tutor is operated by number 6 Flying Training School in partnership with Babcock International Group, primarily flying University Air Squadron students and RAF Air Cadets. Which will now complete yet another half human to fly back towards. There are 13 air experience flights across the UK that offer flights for over 20,000 cadets each year. So if you're aged between 13 and 20 and join the Air Cadet solo. The Air Cadets is also one of the largest providers of the Duke of Edinburgh Award, along with a range of other adventurous training activities. Cameras at the ready, ladies and gents, as Rich will exit his wing over and enter a 4-point roll. In the 4-point roll, Rich will delicately coordinate rudder, aileron and elevator input to keep the nose firmly above the horizon. And he does so beautifully there. Rich will now enter another wing over. You may have noticed that the Royal Air Force Benevolent Front logo is on the underside of the aircraft. Benevolent Front supports Royal Air Force personnel and specialists whenever they're in need. We are proud to raise awareness for a charity. Rich will now complete the link maneuver named after his daughter. She's here today, so a massive cheer for the Amy Rolls. Those of you that are considering joining university, there are 15 university air squadrons across the UK. UAS students are taught to fly the tutor by highly experienced, qualified flying instructors such as Rich. After this fast Rich will exit, enter a wing over. Arguably one of the most parts of the business and other people's training is getting or university. You can fly the team and you let go of a takeoff. Look at this. Of the Royal Navy is here to tell you all about it. George. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Costas. The Black Cat has been a popular fixture on the airshow circuit since 2001 when they're known as the Lynx pair. In 2004, the team was given more support from the Royal Navy and now Leonardo Helicopters and adopted the name the Black Cat. The Wildcat HMA Mark II is the Royal Navy's shipborne attack helicopter, operating for frigates, destroyers and aircraft carriers. It gives command of fast, flexible and heavily armed aircraft that can find, track and strike threats. The Wildcat has a more powerful engine and allows it to be flown in extreme weather conditions all year round. Vessels can appear quickly and special ships at range. The Wildcat is still in that fight.
In March of this year, Royal Navy's Wildcat helicopters deployed to Cyprus to help protect British sovereign base areas and bolster the air defence in the region. HMS Dragon was also deployed with a Wildcat helicopter to defend the area. It's now in the Middle East working alongside the French. You're watching frontline Royal Navy aviators and engineers at work. The team is made up of volunteers from Royal Navy Black Cats.
The Anson's RAF's first aircraft, the monoclonal landscape, and it was coastal class when it first came into service. 26 squadrons across forces were evacuated from the beaches of Dunkirk in May 1940. It was flying coastal patrols in these already obsolete aircraft to provide reassurance to the troops awaiting evacuation. On the 1st of June 1940, a section of 3 Mark I Ansons like this, led by Pilot Officer Pete Peters, was performing one of those patrols when 9 Messerschmitt Bf 109 fighters pounced upon them. Pete Peters slowed his Anson, the Messerschmitts overshot, and 2 of them were shot down by the Anson's guns. No wonder Peters was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross and his 4 crew members the Distinguished Flying Medal. Anson was obsolete on the front line when aircraft like the Lockheed Hudson and the Armstrong Whitworth Whitley arrived. But still it was superior to some of its intended replacements. It was more agile, something we're seeing demonstrated really well here. The crew had better visibility from it. Coastal Command, the early post-war Czechoslovak Air Force flew Ansons as light transports. It's gone to a very good home indeed with 35 to 40 knots. Very impressive indeed. First entered service in June 1938. Initially is the message dropping. Now there's another role we don't talk of very often. Sometimes the only way you could carry a message, report on something was actually to hand or wing deliveries, let's say. Part of the fledgling Air Sea Rescue Service, the downed airmen in the channel, they patrol potential invasion areas, literally invasion from the air by picking it up by other means on ground radar, for example. insurgents and other rebels were threatening Spanish territory, capturing some of it. They provided bomber escort and parachute dropping aircraft escort duties. Counterinsurgency flying. But then once leaving service, it was the forthcoming Battle of Brickfield almost making trips of aircraft that we need to make that film what an epic film it was. It still stands the test of time in many respects, but going back to the 1960s. The film, not all of them flying admittedly. Some changes were made, the wingtips squared off, looks like it's enjoying a very hot summer. But of course later they did come over to the UK, largely out of ducks. They did, and it was partly dry. Four pilots from the Confederate Air Force, which had all four of the aircraft. I just love the aircraft. 155 L118 light up. Joining 18 Squadron as a qualified crewman in 2023. The crew must balance speed with smooth handling to get the gun safely and accurately into position. Operating the Chinook efficiently requires all four members of the crew to work together seamlessly as the rear crew marshal the aircraft precisely and efficiently into position over the intercom. This process requires trust, skill and years of experience to perfect, as well as the ability to count backwards from 10. A high-function skill for a Chinook crewman. The tandem rotor design gives it a large internal loading area. The Chinook's cabin can carry side-by-side buggies, Land Rovers, or even rigid inflatable boats, dispatched from out of sight and sound range to support Royal Marine and Special Boat Service raids. Having supplied the gun... Unload complete, Worley clears the landing site with a max performance takeoff, building speed as quickly as possible to minimise the threat of enemy fire. The Chinook's two powerful Honeywell engines and tandem rotor design enable it to climb or accelerate very quickly to a maximum speed of 160 knots or 185 miles per hour. 7 parachutes rapidly distribute the gun at any hour and reach fire. Out to the left now, Worley will reposition the aircraft with a wing over. With a 360-degree flat turn. The agility and power of the Chinook make it a real pleasure to fly and enable it to perform well in high temperature or high altitude conditions and to carry heavier protective kit. Prepared for combat, Chinook boasts a layer of ballistic armor up to the windows, a rear-facing M60 machine gun and a pair of M134 miniguns for broadside protection. Now Worley brings those weapons to bear in a dog-bone profile. As the starboard gun reaches the end of its weapons arc, he brings the M60 on the ramp to bear on the target. Worley races to get the port minigun on target, unleashing 3,000 rounds per minute from its rotating barrels with a sound almost as iconic as the Chinook itself. Gun runs out of its arcs, the M60 is put back on target. A veteran of the Vietnam War, the M60 makes up for its lower rate of fire. Now, the staffers on their fire field, the gun battery has as little as 3 minutes to replenish and escape before enemy counterback.
to launch an attack rapidly and with deadly accuracy is what makes 7 Power lethal, survivable and ready for the modern battlefield. For a nose-down quick stop, bringing the aircraft to a halt from cruising speed in just a few seconds with the helicopter equivalent of a handbrake turn. Whirly pulls back on the stick to commence deceleration before flicking the aircraft around the nose, presenting the flat side of the fuselage to the airflow and slowing the aircraft much more quickly. And now cameras at the ready to meet our #1 crewman, Sergeant Cammy Torrance, who's going to be waving the famous orange hand today. Cammy joined the RAF in 2019 and after 4 years of flying training arrived on 18 Squadron in 2024. A manoeuvre first seen in the Bosnia conflict, it has no tactical application at all, but was used to show off the awesome power of the Chinook to crews of other helicopter types. Safely back at low level, Whirly prepares to reposition the aircraft once more for a running landing. On task and on target, tackling everything from routine servicing to patching up battle damage, and even conducting major repairs under enemy fire and in extreme environmental conditions. Chinook engineers are highly skilled and ready for anything. Safely onto the ground when engine output is limited. Whirly conserves airspeed for as long as he can, flaring the aircraft to cushion it onto the ground at a maximum speed of 60 knots or 70 miles per hour. Safely on the runway, Whirly uses the unique aerodynamic qualities of the Chinook to balance on its aft wheels. This technique can also be used to land on steep slopes or ledges where the rear of the aircraft is landed while the front of the aircraft is still in flight. And now for another Chinook party trick, the reverse taxi and takeoff. A useful capability when space for parking is tight, but mostly we like to do it because we can. Much like reversing a car, the aircraft gets increasingly twitchy as speed builds, so smooth, calm handling is required to do this safely and efficiently. Ladies and gentlemen, to complete the 2026 Chinook roll demonstration, Whirly brings the aircraft up to crowd centre for a goodbye bow. He's been absolutely thrilled to show off the aircraft for you today, as have all of us from the Chinook Force, JHSS and 7 Power. Now he prepares to transition over the shoulder to depart, and to finish the display programme for this year's Cosford Air Show. Folks, thanks very much for sticking it out to the bitter end with us today. You've been absolutely brilliant, and we have been the 2026 RAF Chinook Roll Demonstration Team. Have a safe journey home.